So have you ever had a situation where the landlord changed his mind at the end and it's like, I don't want to sell now?
Well, no, because they're contractually obligated. So
Okay.
the other, when we talk about win-win, the other thing that is a win for the landlord or for the owner of the house is they typically get the full value of the house. Because if you are in a lease to own or rent to own program, it is pretty standard that you're not going to get a significantly discount on the house. So most landlords and most owners, one and the same, they enter into the rent to own program because they're asking for top value of their house, and people are submitting bids that are underneath what they either need because they have a mortgage on it or because they just need that money to go into their next project. So that's the win for the landlord, and the win for the tenant is, again, they're in a house that they normally would not be in earlier than projected.
Okay. I have a couple of comments. Semi So Real said this is great information. Truly appreciate the show for bringing this to the forefront for us, because they really didn't know too much about the lease to own option.
Makes a difference. That can make a difference in people's lives,
Absolutely.
And a lot of times it's one thing to save until you get there, but that can be, you can be discouraged along the way of saving and things like that. Certain things can come up, but if you're able to kind of taste it a little bit, on the way, that's like, lets you know that it's real. And it's something you can do. Plus, you learning what you need to do to take care of a house at the same time too. That's the other piece. Folks want to get in a house. Used to have people who try to get in a house. They say, "Well, you're approved for this much." And they get the top house they could get.
That's yes.
Right. Can't turn on nothing. Can't turn on no water. Can't turn no electricity. House look nice. You can't sit in it though because we ain't got no furniture. Can't afford no furniture. So you got to have those real conversations with folks and kind of let them know, like, this is where you want to be, but
yes,
this is where you are, but at least you're not here. So we can kind of work with you. I like that idea. I mean, I wish I'd had that a lot earlier in my life. I wish I knew you all then.
Wow, were there problems?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, just a little bit. Just a wee bit.
It gives another option. Not everybody can write a check and has the savings to go directly into a house, and it's not for everybody. There are some pitfalls, and when I say pitfalls, the fact is that you're paying top value for the house.
Sure.
And one of the, when we talk about the housing market and it going up and down, say you enter into a contract, you put down your 3 to 5%, you're in it for 3 to 5 years, and all of a sudden the market changes, and now the house is worth less than you signed the contract for. Again, you have the option to walk away without purchasing the house, but you have lost your option fee. So, it does cause you to, kind of weigh that balance and see whether or not you want to sit in a house underwater from day one,
sure,
or do you just want to, take the loss, as Les Brown says, in educational dollars, learn, and then go back and try it again. So, there are some possible risks. It's not for everybody. The best scenario is for you to buy the house outright, right when you're ready to purchase the house. And again, I hope that we get into wealth building and generational wealth later on. But that's the best case scenario, because then you can negotiate the price, and you can possibly get a house under with equity in it.
Sure. Well, and that's the perfect segue. So that family has now purchased a home through your program, and they went through the whole process of the 3 to 5 year window to get the home. So they're in that home on, Anywhere Street. So they've accomplished one building block in that whole generational wealth piece. So what other recommendations do you have from, GPS Solutions that can help that family to continue to build on that foundation of having and maintaining that and passing along that generational wealth?
Yeah. So the first thing I certainly want, your listeners and your viewers to say with me is, you cannot save your way to wealth. Say this with me. You cannot save your way to wealth.
You cannot save your way to wealth. Shannon didn't say it. Wait a minute. Shannon didn't say anything.
But she's signing it.
Oh, she's signing it. Yeah,
she's signing it. She's still on mute.
What the hell she did? She's still on mute.
Selfish. She's selfish. Go ahead.
Before we go on, I have one quick question from a Facebook watcher. How do an owner of the property determine how much to sell their property for? Is it off comps in the neighborhood, or how does that work?
So the owner can can list the house for whatever they want. Now, the comps come in because depending on who is going to buy the house, if a bank is going to finance it, they are only going to finance it with the comps in the neighborhood. But you can list your house for, $500,000. Let me give you an example. I have a neighbor who, his house is, the comps in the neighborhood are about $290,000, $285,000, $295,000. He listed his house fully renovated on the market for $375,000. You could list it for whatever. Now, a lender is not going to lend $375,000 for a house where the comps in that neighborhood are around $285,000, $290,000. So the wise thing is to list the house based on the comparables, the most recent sold. And then that way people, when they come to the house, know that they can get financing from the institution. If you just happen to be, wealthy, like you guys on the show, or certainly like Chief, and you got money just falling out your back pocket, then you could write a check, for whatever, and whatever the person asked for, and the house can be sold.
That's I must be on the wrong show.
Yeah, that would be Shannon.
That must be Shannon.
That would be Shannon with the velour running suit. That would be Shannon.
I'm sitting here writing stuff down.
Would not be me. That would be her.
Yeah. Suit run. She don't even have to run.
No, she just shows up on the show. Hi, I'm here. Look at her. Look at her waving. Selfish.
I'm not mad at you, Shannon. I'm not mad. You do your thing. We need to stop hating on the people that are
fabulous. She's fabulous.
I'm not. Yeah, I just wish I could just get in there just one good time, just one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
What about? Do you all work with folks, or is there any sense to working with folks who may already be in a house, but maybe they're at a messed up interest rate, or they want to get something else and they want to refinance and maybe take some of that money and put it into something else? Or
that's a good question.
And get into investing in that way. I'm asking for a friend. We don't
have anything set up right now with GPS Solutions. I will tell you that I am working with some close confidants on creating a nonprofit. And with that nonprofit, we are really going to be focused on wealth building, not only on the lease to option and rent to own option for potential home buyers, but also educational classes and financial awareness classes with partners, so that we can share some of the real easy techniques that people can start using now to build that wealth. And just a quick story: I have a godson about 7 years old who got into an argument and came home crying because he went to school and his peers talked about him because of his shoes. He had on Nike shoes, and they were new Nike shoes, but they weren't the newest Nike shoes. And so they talked about him, and he came home crying, and his father called me, and I said, look, we're going to take care of this right now. We're going to buy Nike stock. And I said, when we buy the Nike stock, what I want you to do is next time every time you walk past somebody with a Nike swoosh stripe, you go ching ching. Well, 2 days later, the teacher called the house and said, well, told his father, well, your son he's disrupting the class. He just keeps walking around going ching, 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 ching. But it took care of the mindset. I mean, because at that time, you could buy a share of Nike cheaper than you could buy the actual shoe. And so now he is walking around as a part owner, if you will, a shareholder in the company. And so now when people talk about him, he's like, that's all right. Go ahead. Talk about me. I own the company he just took it to a whole nother level. But again, it's all about teaching him about that wealth. And when I look at what we bought the share for then and what the price of Nike stock is now, I mean, we're all smiling,
Sure.
Well, my godparents bought me some railroad stock. Railroad thing it's all out of business. All out of business. I got nothing, ain't worth the paper it was written on, Chief. I'm broke.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you held on to it.
Can't afford to pay attention.
You got to pay attention. You held on to it too long.
That's right.
What did I do with it? It was out of stock before. I mean, it was no good before I was 20. I mean, it was out of business. I'm like, what's going on? And my folks must have held on to it. I'm going to go downstairs right now and tell my mom.
That's right.
I should go down there. Mama, why you ain't sell that stock? Get some Nikes. What you mean they didn't have no Nikes back then? We just had fish heads.
Oh, I remember fish heads for $1.99.
I know that's right. But that's a good lesson, man. That's the kind of thing that, we just have now. I think my father started paying attention to money. My grandfather, oddly enough, was able to do things with money. How he had 6 kids and was in a $10,000 salary, as a minister, and how he raised those 6 kids and still had money left over.
Okay, all right. All right, I'm on hold.
Go on. Oh, I know who that was. I know that voice. That's my main man, Phil. Go on,
Phil.
bring him
Phil.
in here. He got a wealth of knowledge. I know he got money. Phil got money. You don't want nobody to know it.
Yeah, but you know what? Thinbad, it is about having those conversations. And I mean, since Phil is on the line, there's a session that I did with some of his students that he works with, and where we really talked about stocks, and we talked about buying companies and investing. And I'm thinking, can you imagine what that conversation around the dinner table was? When they got home and they started talking about, Nike shares, or $100 and somebody is sitting up there saying Nike shares. What do you know about Nike shares? Oh, well,
Exactly.
I mean, just think of how that changes the whole trajectory of the dinner table,
That's
the
right.
Thanksgiving dinner table, where the youngest person at the table, the one that everybody thought, was going down the wrong path, is now talking about flipping houses and talking about, the stock market and talking about options. I mean, just that alone.
Exactly.
Their parents that I believe that have called in and said, how can I get a part of that class? It's like sorry, you're overqualified.
Sure. Well, without any further ado, we're going to bring in Phil from Maryland. Phil, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Chief. How are you?
Doing good, Phil. As always, it's great to talk to you, and we certainly hope you're taking care of yourself back in Maryland. And you were on live with Bill Steen, Thinbad, and Shannon.
Thinbad, Shannon, it's always good to know you all are still there. Mr. Steen, it is truly, truly good to hear from you. I was afraid that COVID had got a hold of you because I couldn't find you. Listening to the show, and I think you all may have touched on it, Mr. Steen does a whole lot of other things with regards to financial literacy. And he did, in fact, spend time with our young people, helping them to understand financial literacy, financial planning. And in fact, he had a couple of the children who were actually prepared to invest in some stock because he helped them to understand the stock market. When we talk about generational wealth, I think often we look at adults and their money, But I believe that generational wealth, the lesson, the learning of generational wealth, it must start with our young people. They have to learn at a young age